Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you in part by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Sunday, you guys. I'm so glad to be back to you guys after a couple of weeks off. We'll get into that and so much more. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about none other than the NFL draft, of course, but because it's been a minute since I've seen you last time, we're going to also go back and revisit what happened with the Florida Gators men's national championship winning team, and we're going to go over exactly what took place during the game from our perspective as a fan, guys. We're going to jump into the MLB and the NHL. We're going to talk about what's going on in that playoff series between the Panthers and the Bolts, and of course, we'll check in with the Marlins and the Rays and see how they are performing to start the season. We're still relatively early, so I'm not putting all my eggs in a basket yet, guys. We're going to save the best for last, though, which again is going to be the NFL draft. I have so much to tell you about the Buccaneers team and who they drafted. Of course, we're going to go over the Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins. Again, that much and so much more on this episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. Keep it locked here. We'll be right back at you in a few minutes. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you in part by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. I am so glad to have you here this evening. I actually need you guys here. So, like I said before, we're going to go over a ton of things coming out of the world of sports, but I do have to make a quick announcement, you guys, and this is not going to be a kind of a bleed over kind of thing. But, you know, I've been out for a couple of weeks. Long story short, you guys, I experienced a death in the family. I lost my grandmother recently. So this show is going to be dedicated to her. She was beyond special to me. She was my rock. She was my person. And, you know, I wasn't closer to anybody more so than her. And, you know, in a way, she's my twin. You know, she was my twin. And so it's been a very rough time dealing with that, but I know she wouldn't want me to stop. And, you know, so with that in mind, we're going to keep going on. We're going to honor her memory, but that's actually lends credence to part of the reason why I've been out this entire time. Obviously, grief is a process, and I'm going through it. So, but we're here, and we're going to talk about all of the lovely things, all of the great things that have been happening for Florida sports, you know, up until that point. But I just also want to put that out there. Shout out, Grandma. I miss you. I love you. This one is for you, Grandma. And but we're gonna have a wonderful show, and it should be. This show is a very wonderful show because we're gonna talk about what the Florida Gators did. I know they won their national championship a few years back. But we're gonna talk about that. I got to watch all of the games, and I watched that one from stem to stern. It was just an absolute dogfight for the Gators. We're going to talk about what happened in that game, of course. And that's how we're going to start. We're going to leave football for the end because that's going to be the biggest part. And I also want to jump into some details. As you guys know, I watch a ton of college football, so I'm definitely going to have some heavy opinions on some of what I've seen from the draft. And so we're going to get into that at the end. But to start out, we are going to, go, like I said, to college basketball. We're going to go to the NBA. After that, we're actually going to go to the NHL and then the MLB, which is normally the other way around that we do that. And then, like I said, we'll wrap it up with a little bit of college football, but mainly the NFL football, regurgitating the draft and talking about everything, at least all of the knowledge that I have for you guys and what that means for this team, and as well the Jaguars in Miami as well. We will touch on them. But first things first, guys, of course, if you guys do not know where to find us on social media, guys. On social media, if you are looking for Palm Tree Sports, if you're looking for IE Sports Radio, you can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc., TikTok, whatever works best for you. You can find us at IE Sports Radio. That is at IE Sports Radio. The website, which is the universal umbrella for all of our shows, that would be iesportsradio.com. Again, that's the umbrella that houses all the other shows that are on this platform that we have to offer you guys. And, of course, if you are looking for the direct link on the website for my show, Palm Tree Sports Radio, it's going to be www.iesportsradio/Palm Tree Sports. Again, /Palm Tree Sports after the iesportsradio.com. So that's going to be the one directly to my show. On Twitter and on Instagram, I will be back on Instagram. I didn't delete it. I just uninstall it just for a second, just so I can get my bearings with everything that's going on. But it's going to be at @palmtree_IE and at Pujols Corey, respectively, for my show. Again, at @palmtree_IE on Twitter, which you guys will see me on there. And then at Pujols Corey as well for my personal on Twitter, which, of course, I'm always talking sports, on there as well. So come join the conversation, guys. And then, of course, if you guys didn't know, we do have a few sponsors, so we're going to go ahead and get into a message from them, and then when we get back, we'll go ahead and dive into everything that I have for you out of the world of sports, guys. But I'm super excited to get into this show and everything that I have for you this evening, so keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols. This is IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. Keep it locked here for a few more minutes. We'll be right back with you after a message from our sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Thank you to our sponsors for that message, and welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Guys, let's jump over into the comments real quick. Let's see who's in the building today. So, T-Rod's good to see you, my friend. Yes, sir. It is great to be a Florida Gator. That is 100% correct, and it's always a great day to be a Florida Gator. I mean, man, I can't tell you how happy, how ecstatic we were down here winning that natty and bringing that count back to 3-3, right? So absolutely incredible there. And yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, T-Rod. May she forever rest in peace, So you know what it feels like. And exactly, they wouldn't want us to stop. They would want us to keep going. Like I said, she was my rock. She was, just for an idea, like a storytelling idea in a way. My grandmother actually lived around the corner from me growing up. So as a kid, I'm 30. So I grew up in that area where we still ran away from home. Right. Actually ran away and would try to stay away for as long as possible. And I always ended up at grandma's house. Grandma was always the one who understood me. And, she knew how to teach me. She knew how to speak to me. She knew how to speak life into me. And those are the kind of things that you can't find out there in the world with random people. You can only find that with family, with good family. And so as a result, I want to honor her, and I want to continue on doing this because I know if she was here, it's exactly what she would be telling me to do. And Dad, you know it. And, so much love to my family, all of my family who are listening and who will listen to this in the near future. I love you guys. And, I hope and pray that we continue to stay this close. And for the rest of my listeners out there, guys, just take this as a sign. I was able to enjoy my grandmother while she was alive. So it's a little easier for me to accept it because I know I got to see her at her best, and I got to spend a ton of time with her and countless conversations. She's taught me so much. But I urge you guys, before she passed, I would always say on my show, love your family. Spend time with your loved ones, make that phone call, send that message. And this is no different now. Make sure you guys do that. All right. So, but say it one more time, Dad, for those in the back. It is great to be a Florida Gator. Hey, listen, you guys, that's actually going to lead us to our Florida fun fact, right? So officially, the University of Florida, our Florida Gators, are now the only college in all of college athletics to hold 3 national championships in basketball and 3 national championships in football. The only college. And, of course, we are do it all college. We do have, of course, the softball championship that the girls won a few years back. We have men's baseball, college baseball championship. We have the outdoor with the gymnastics and track team, both winning championships. And then, of course, tennis and golf, we've also won national championships in. So it is the do-it-all school. It is great to be a Florida Gator. We love our blue and orange. Our Gator boys stay hot, baby. And it's no different for this national championship game that was played on April 7th between the University of Florida Gators and the University of Houston. Houston got there, of course, by knocking off Duke and setting the table for 2 ranked ones to go ahead and close out the show. It started off really, really rough early. So, guys, I did get a chance to watch that game from start to finish. I've watched pretty much all of the games, actually, from start to finish. And what I can tell you is that the Gators were down, but they were never really out of the game. You could tell that they were being a little outpaced and definitely made extremely uncomfortable. Houston has great big men and they really know how to spread the floor with their space and make it really hard to crash down on lanes and break into the paint and really otherwise be effective, inside. And they really, really forced the Gators to take bad shots early on. Walter Clayton was trying to find his footing, if you will, early in the game. So he wasn't himself to start, but it was one of those things where you kind of knew he was going to figure it out. You knew there was no way that in a national championship game, after everything Walter had been through, that he was just going to sit there and take it lying down. And, so a lot of credit goes to Will Richard. For those of you who did not watch the game, Will Richard, one of our point guards, he just was phenomenal. He goes 3 from 3 to start the game from beyond the arc, putting up a quick 9 points. And he led all scorers for the University of Florida with 18 points. 8 rebounds and 2 assists. So Will Richards showed up when we needed him most. He had been a little questionable the 2 games before that against Auburn and against what was the game before Auburn? Texas Tech. But he was still there, and he definitely made his presence felt in that national championship game. Did an amazing job beyond the arc to start the game. And, aside from that, I really can't complain with his performance. Again, he led all scorers at the University of Florida. Walter Clayton Jr., as I mentioned, started the game very rough, taking some very questionable shots, but he was just trying to find his rhythm, trying to find his feet. And when you do that, sometimes you have to air that stuff out, right? Like you kind of have to just let it go, because if those things go in, we don't say these are questionable shots, right? So that was kind of the imaging in the first half. And you could see towards the end of the first half, the Gators were starting to put together some offense, starting to put together some transition, and starting to figure out this big wall that they were having to play around. And eventually, Walter Clayton would find his footing in the form of 11 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists. The 7 assists is really what I want to pay attention to, because Walter, he's so smart and he's so calm and cool under pressure. So he realizes he's not playing well. You know what he does? He starts getting this big boy into the mix, Mr. Alex Condon, right? So Alex Condon goes 12 points, 7 rebounds with no assists, but he didn't need to, because the majority of the time when Walter was kicking this ball out, he was kicking it in a 2-man game to Alex. And they were, like I said, that 2-man game down low brought them some points. They had back-to-back jams at one point late in the first half. And you could see some life being, brought out of the chest of the Florida Gators. To start the third quarter, there was a little bit of a run, but not as big as it should have been. Obviously, Houston stayed out in front for a large part of the game. And then when we got to the end of the game, the Florida Gators did what they do. There was a massive, and I just mean absolutely massive, jam by Elijah Martin. He had 2 massive jams this game. In fact, one was off of a deflection, and then the other one was off of a steal, I believe it was. And the second one, he hits a jam, and it's over 2 defenders, and it's just absolutely sensational, absolutely disgusting. So Elijah Martin with that adrenaline shot right into the neck, right into that thigh, wherever you would put that shot, and really kick-started this Gator offense. And then, you saw Walter Clayton come down and start hitting his shot. He started feeling it, and then, of course, at the very end of the game, that very bizarre situation, what people don't understand is when Walter Clayton was playing tremendous defense on the final shot, the final shooter. And what happened was he gave him just enough space to set up for a shot, but closed the distance so fast. Walter Clayton closed that distance so fast that the defender in the air had to drop the ball in risk of that shot getting blocked, being an automatic turnover. If it does at that point, when you look at where everybody was in the court, there were definitely more Gators in proximity. And that's essentially what happened. I believe it was Alex dove for and got the loose ball there after, because he couldn't retouch the ball after he dropped the ball in midair. And so at that point, the rest of the Houston players, it didn't dawn on them quick enough that, hey, he can't touch the ball. Somebody else has to come get it, or it's an automatic turnover, right? And then the game is still over. So these are the kind of things that we did see. And from the fan perspective, it was one of those things where I was a little concerned, but that was about the maximum extent of the negative feeling that I felt, right? It was just a little bit of concern. Always had faith, never stopped having faith. The Gators were never too far out of the game. I think the biggest deficit at some point was like 12 points or something like that. So not NBA level 25-point, halftime differential or anything like that. But the Gators did an amazing job. Todd Golden is right? Like in the second half, he just came out. He was like, here's the game plan. This is what we're going to do. And that's how it worked. Tommy Houck with a big and one in closing out the second half. I think there was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes on the clock, or maybe a little bit more. But Tommy Houck with a very big and one, showing the passion. He's returning also to the University of Florida. We did lose Denzel Aberdeen to Kentucky. Hey, listen, we just won a natty. I don't want to call him a traitor, but definitely that's a crazy move from Florida to Kentucky after winning a natty. But I mean, hey, to each his own. Best of luck to you, kid. And hopefully when we play each other, it's a great game. And unfortunately, it's Go Gators still. And but also they did get that kid Lee from Princeton, and he's a pretty good point guard. So between him and AJ Brown, I definitely look at those two guys to help lift this team back up. And hopefully, if Alex Condon also doesn't go NBA, he'll still be with the Gators as well. So there's a lot going on for our men's Gators basketball team. They performed very, very well. I'm so proud of them. And we're gonna have a drink. I think it's only right that we have ourselves a little drink to say congratulations to our boys. So let us pull out that stuff. You see, we've been drinking, huh? We've been drinking. We've been winning games. So, hey. But again, shout out to our boys. So proud of them and what they were able to accomplish. And boys, this one is for you. And may next year be the exact same. So it's great to be a Florida Gator. Toast to the Gators. Congratulations on national championship. Oh, whoo. That's heavy stuff. Heavy stuff. The Chaser's water, by the way, guys. Zephyr Hills, the best. This water's so good. So, now then, with that out of the way, Gator boys stay hot. Todd Golden's a wizard. Again, congratulations to those boys. But we now move on to the next season. And with that, we are going to go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is going to be NBA, guys. So, we'll go ahead and put that Gator talk down for the time being. Go Gators. Good job, you guys. So proud of you. But there are a couple of teams that it's hard to be proud of right now. One of them is the Heat. Let me clarify when I say that. I'm proud that this team made the playoffs. That part is good, right? Good job, Heat. You made the playoffs. You won the play-in game against Atlanta. And now you're playing against, the Cavs. Yeah, that sucks. Cavs finished the NBA season with the best regular record in the East, 64-18 be that record. The Heat finished with a 37-45, a sub-5 -8. Not a great record to be going against the most complete team in the East at the moment, and that's essentially what this series has looked like. The Cavs did win the last game 124-87, handing the Heat the worst playoff loss in Miami Heat basketball history. In fact, absolutely massive loss there. What is that? 24 on top of 13 is 37-point loss is absolutely ridiculous. And what happened? Tyler Hero was shut down completely. Shut down and taken out of the game is the most accurate way to describe what took place here. To who it may concern, Bam Adebayo goes 22 points in 40 minutes with 9 rebounds and 1 assist. He did everything he could. Everything you would expect him. Everything you would expect him to do. But Tyler Hero, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, never able to get really going, never really turn that engine over and really start playing ball the way he knows how to play ball. Unfortunately, that's a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly where the Heat have landed, in disaster. They're down 0-3 to the Cavs. As Paul Westphal said, I can't remember his last name, but he was the head coach of the Suns back in 1993. He said, I know you guys are down 03. The next question is, are you guys dead? And, he went on to say that basically the Suns would go on to win the series, in which they did, and they would eventually go to play Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals. But the point that I'm making behind that is this is not the Phoenix Suns, and this is not 1993. This team is dead, okay? D-E-E-E-E-E-E, dead, all right? Not D-E-A-D, that's just dead. They're dead, okay? It's bad, and there's not much they can do against this Cleveland team right now. At the end of the day, again, this is the team that recorded the best regular season record in the East and also has, in my opinion, the most complete team. And not necessarily from a star power perspective, but from a top to bottom, get the job done, come in, feed the ball, score, transition, defense, top to bottom. This is one of the top 3 teams in the league, okay? So, like it or not, it is what it is. Next game is going to be tomorrow at 7:30. It's in Miami, so they might be able to snipe one and keep this from being a sweep. But at the very end, we're talking about the end of this season for the Heat at the moment, and there's pretty much nothing that they can do. They just don't have what it takes. They don't have the firepower or the roster to compete with a Cleveland team right now that is playing at the level that they are playing at, and that's just what it comes down to. Again, when you look at that Cleveland team, there's a lot that they have, and there's not much they don't have. And, it all starts with the Spider Donovan Mitchell. So, hey, congratulations to the Cavs on playing tremendous basketball right now in the postseason, but the Heat right now, they're in massive trouble. They are in absolutely massive trouble. Damn, Westfall, that was his name. That is 100% correct. And he made a bold prediction, right? He said that his Suns would come back and they would win the series, and they did. But again, like I said, this is not the Suns. This is not 1993, and there is no Charles Barkley in his prime or Dan Marley, none of those guys, okay? So we're going to keep it moving on to the Magic, right? So this team is performing a little bit better than the Heat are performing at the moment. The Magic, they were down at the half. Last time I saw it, the score was 53-48 Celtics, and that was at halftime. Now, Boston's leading the series 2-1. The Magic did win the last game yesterday, so big win by the Magic there in Game 3. The Magic finished their season 41-41, so 500. I'm not going to complain, right, compared to what it could have been. But then you do have the Celtics, who finished the season 61-21, recording second place in the East, and again playing tremendous basketball as you would expect from, the defending NBA national champions. So with that being said, though, so far through that game, like I said, it was halftime. They were down, 5? Again, 53-48 was that score through that first half. Paul Banchero is going off with 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. So he's doing everything he can to keep this team into the mix. If anybody has a score of that game and wants to throw it into the comments, I'll go ahead and read from there. If not, I'll give you the update in a few moments. But Franz Wagner also trying to keep this team afloat. They combined for 28 points in the first half. Franz going 10 points, 1 rebound, 5 assists. So this team is not going to go laying down. This team has played the Celtics extremely tough in the past, and this is a team that they can absolutely beat. The question is, what Orlando Magic team is going to show up in the second half? Let's go see real quick. Let me get a score for you real quick, you guys. All right, here we go. Magic. All right, Magic down 8 with 2 minutes, 19 seconds to go right now. The score is 100-92, Celtics leading right now, okay? So, I mean, there's a shot, but time is dwindling. Let's see what's going on with the kids, right? So Tatum's going off 33 points. Jaylen Brown going off 21 points. White with 18 points. And Kristaps Porzingis with another 19 points. So they're big four-ing around by what it looks like here. Banchero and Wagner both respectively over 20 points in the game, sitting at 38 minutes apiece. Paul Banchero's at 27 points right now with Franz Wagner at 22. Unfortunately, that's kind of it, and it doesn't look like they're able to keep up at the moment. The Celtics just dinged in another one. It's 101-94. So it's not looking too good for the Magic, but fingers are crossed. Hopefully they can pull it out in these next 2 minutes. I don't know what to expect, you guys, but this is where we are at right now. And unfortunately, the Magic, they're a little dinged up, right? So they've had 2 pretty massive injuries that have lingered, and one was a season ending and the other one was kind of a frequent up and down. So as a result, this Magic team is not at 100%, whereas the Celtics team is at 100%, and that looks to be the difference in the gameplay right now, especially when you talk about how well oiled the machine of the Celtics is. Now, I'm not a Celtics fan, but I do have respect for the franchise, a ton of respect for the franchise. There was once a time where I was a fan of theirs, but no, not anymore. But with that being said, I will say again that if there's going to be a team that can do it, the Magic are definitely one of those teams. They need to try to hang in there. And like I said, it's just not looking good. Time is dwindling pretty fast. 1 minute, 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And again, like I said, the score is still a 7-point game. So obviously there's still, in basketball terms, a ton of time. But in terms of the level of basketball that's being played, there's not a lot of time because the Celtics team is not going to make too many mistakes. They're not going to give the Magic too many free chances to try to get this game right. So Magic are going to have to go take it. They're going to have to hit some threes, and they're going to have to play perfect basketball for this next minute and 25 seconds. We'll see what happens, though. We will see what happens. Guys, let's go ahead and get to our first break of the evening. When we get back, we can jump into the Bolts and the Panthers and talk about what's going on in that playoff series and talk about what the Bolts need to do to tighten that series to 2 games apiece as they are down 2-1. All that and so much more on this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. Thank you for having it locked here, you guys. Like I said, stay here for about a minute. 52 minutes, and we'll be right back with you for the rest of the show. My name has been Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, I've got the show for you. I'm Jen B, host of the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You want football? I've got the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Eagles, the Purple Raiders, and more for you. You want basketball? I've got the Cavs and the Charge for you. You want hockey? I've got the Blue Jackets and the Monsters for you. You want football, aka soccer? I've got the Crew and the Crunch for you. You want volleyball? I'm going to unleash the fury for you. You want more Cleveland and Columbus sports? I've got them all for you, from the majors to the minors to the college rinks. Catch me, Jen B, every week on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. 103-96, the score of the game now, 39 seconds left to go. 7-point ball game. That's pretty much ball game. Pretty much, barring a massive mistake by the Celtics, that's pretty much ball game, guys. So let's go ahead and wrap that up. Bolts and Panthers, okay, are playing in another heavyweight fight in the NHL, you guys. So the Panthers are currently leading this series 2-1, but the Bolts tighten the series after taking home a 5-1 victory yesterday against the Panthers. For those of you who have been under a rock in terms of the NHL, these are 2 of your last 3 Stanley Cup champions that are duking it out right now. As I've gone on to say many, many times before, the Stanley Cup still goes through Florida. And this series is just further proof of that. The first 2 games go to the Panthers. Just unorganized gameplay in both games by the Bolts. There were just times in space that the Panthers made the right plays, the right moves. They did a better job scoring, especially in transition. And unfortunately, we were not playing tremendous defense. That changed in this third game with Vasilevsky playing absolutely outstanding defense. Again, holding the Panthers to only 1 goal, while our Bolts were able to find 5. No doubles on the scores, all individual scores in that game. And again, Vasilevsky with a .971 save rate. It's about as close to perfect as you can get. without pitching a shutout. So tremendous job by him. The Bolts finished the season 47, 27, and 8, which was second in the Atlantic, third in the East, and good enough to get ahead of the Panthers. And the reason why I say that is because this was the opposite last year. In fact, this is the opposite for the Panthers. In fact, the Panthers finished 47, 31, and 4, which was third in the Atlantic and fifth in the East, which is how this series came about. Tremendous hockey again being played in the East as in the West. I mean, on both sides, just absolutely magical. You like that? And with that being said, again, the Stanley Cup still goes through the state of Florida. And again, this series is more proof of that. I think that the 5-1 isn't going to be a normal thing, right? Like, we're probably not going to see that again in this series, but it's definitely a momentum booster. And I think that we need to continue to try to find the same inclines that we found. I mean, okay, so obviously in this game, we played a lot more physical. There were definitely some small altercations that took place in this game. In fact, there was a suspension handed out to a Bolts player for an unnecessary bit of physicality. But the thing is, I think the point here is not so much to be physical against the Panthers, but to be physical for themselves, to know that this is a physical team that we're playing against. These two teams think that they're the best, and they think that in a series against any other team that they can bring it home. And of course, we agree down here. I mean, how can we not agree? And when you have that kind of mindset, that's going to force you to play harder. Iron sharpens iron after all, and this is no other different example than this. And so with that being said, again, this series is going to be great. Tomorrow's game, the next game, game 4, is tomorrow at 7 p.m. if you guys want to check that out. Quite a few games coming at you between tomorrow and Tuesday. I'm going to double back real quick just in case I didn't mention this. But the next game for the Heat is tomorrow. All right, real quick, I'm going to throw this just right out there just so I make sure I'm doing my part. The next game for the Heat is game 4 against the Cavs. That's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. in Miami. Then you have the Magic and the Celtics for game 4 Tuesday, April 29th. So in 2 days, 8:30 p.m. That game is in Orlando. And then you have Panthers Bolts game 4 tomorrow at 7 p.m. So you've got a 7:30 for tomorrow, and then an 8:30 on Tuesday. And there's going to be a few more for tomorrow and Tuesday. So get ready for that. But yeah, I just want to get that back out to you guys real quick, just to make sure you guys have your dates and time down for these games. I think that the Bolts will even this game back up to 2 and send this game back to, 2 hours away. What am I about to do? It's not like I'm not going to say another state or another city. In fact, they play in Sun, Florida, is where the Panthers play. So yeah, just a drive from north to south. It's pretty much all that's happening here. Well, actually, it's from they're staying for this game, but after game 4 for game 5, they will be headed back down south again to play in Sun City. So that's what it is for the NHL, guys, though. But both of these teams, again, 2 of the very best teams coming out of the East, both sitting atop the Atlantic and East conferences, respectively. And that's how this series came about. So looking forward to see go Bolts, go Panthers. If they win the series, we'll follow the Panthers hopefully all the way into a repeat. But hopefully it's our Bolts and we can pull out some more of that magic, guys. Let's go ahead and get into the next part of what I have for you this evening, which is going to be the MLB. So the MLB obviously is still early in the season right now. So there's not a lot to write home about, but one of the nice things to write home about right now is that the Rays are winners of 5 in a row, including a sweep against the Padres. So they were able to defeat the Padres early today, 4-2 to close out that series. They win those games without dropping a single one against the Padres. So congratulations, Rays. That knocks them back up to 14-14 at 500 right now, which is a pretty solid place to be considering where they were 2 weeks ago before they started playing the what's that snake? Diamondbacks. So yeah, the Padres rocking in a 17-11 record, which was previously a 17-8 record, one of the best records in the MLB at the time. The Rays showing that they can go toe-to-toe with any team, and it started here with the Padres. Actually started with the Diamondbacks because they actually won that series 2-1, including winning the last 2 games in that series to, like I said, extend or get them to the point to be able to extend to this 5-game win streak that they're experiencing right now. That sweep against the Padres puts them in a great place against the team they're about to go see next, which is the Kansas City Royals. The Royals rocking a 14-15 record, so a sub 500 by single-digit games. Tuesday, April 29th at 7:05 p.m. Again, that is Tuesday, April 29th at 7:05 p.m. for the start time of that game. In that game against the Padres, the lone homer came from Taylor Walls. Shout out to Taylor. Good job, Bubba. Keep up the good work. Keep going, young man. Rumble, young man, rumble. And with that being said, the Rays, like I said, knocking it back up to 500 at 14-14. This team is starting to figure something out, and that's really good for them. I really hope that they hold on to this, right? Because the Rays are just a notorious team for getting hot and then just beating themselves. And when they beat themselves, it always seems like it's worse than when they're hot, right? So aside from a few years ago when they opened 21 straight games in a row, right? That was unheard of. But this is a team that's still capable of doing that right now. They're still in a bit of a rebuild. We still have pieces, including the Laos and, of course, Yandy Diaz and those boys. So we just have to continue to build around. And I feel like I've been saying the same thing for the last 3 years, but yet here we are one more time, guys. So go Rays. Get that dub against the Royals. Let's pull out that third series win in a row, and let's start poking at the bear that is the Yankees that sit atop our current division in a conference. Real quick, just to shine a quick light. T-Rod says Magic in 7. I know Shannon Sharp is a very crazy topic right now, but yeah, Magic in 7. I would love to say Magic in 5, but we can't say that, right? So we're gonna say Magic in 7. And then Dad says best hockey in the state is in the state of Florida. That's correct. Listen, look, the proof is in the pudding, guys. 2 of your last 3 Stanley Cup Finals champions come out of the Sunshine State. And I know it was 95 degrees today. I know I was outside. I went to work this morning. I had a birthday party I went to after that. I got some Taco Bell. It was hot. It was hot. And so as a result, I think there's this common misconception that somehow we can't play hockey down here. Well, guess what? We do. So now then, the Marlins. All right, the Marlins. Let's talk about the fish. Go filter fish. For those of you who watch Rush Hour. You guys remember Rush Hour 2 when he was trying to order that fish on the plane? Marlins rocking a 12-15 record right now. They did lose the entire series to the Mariners. In fact, they lost all 3 games to the Mariners. The Mariners rocking a 16-12 record, formerly a 13-12 record, so above 500 by 1. But against the Marlins, they were able to snag 3 dubs, including the 7-6 victory today. Great ball clubs win those 1-1 ball games, and unfortunately, the Marlins did not. And that's unfortunate because – oh, excuse me, my apologies. It's that Tiramana. But unfortunately, that means that it does not get easier for them. They are about to go see the Dodgers next. That's not going to help them in any way, shape, or form at the moment. The time for that game is going to be tomorrow at 10:10 p.m. So it's going to be Monday night, 10:10 p.m. Guys, if you're going to be watching Raw with me, we are going to be missing the beginning of this game, but we will be able to catch the second half of it, hopefully. And they did lose 2 in a row, including dropping that series against the Mariners. So not good. Not a good look. I don't know what to say. You guys got to play better. Just at everything, right? Like, the Mariners are not the best team or anything like that, but you guys started the season pretty well, and then now it just seems like there's a bit of confusion, and that seems to be the case like every year with the Marlins. And so with that being said, again, I don't know what to say because I've been saying the same thing for 3 years now. Like, guys, we're approaching the 3rd year of my doing this show, and I'm telling you guys, we've been saying the same thing about the Marlins since we started talking about them. Okay. I don't know. I don't have any bright ideas. Like, I don't know. Next game, like I said, against the Dodgers tomorrow at 10:10 p.m. And then again, for the Rays game against the Kansas City Royals, that's going to be again Tuesday, April 29th at 7:05 p.m. So you got again one tomorrow night, Monday, and then one Tuesday night game. So get ready for that Florida sports as far as baseball is concerned. Let's go ahead and talk the college football Gators team, and then We will take a short break, and then we will talk about the Bucks draft extensively, and then I will also dibble and dabble in the Jaguars in Miami draft. Now, with the Gators, the orange and blue game that was played, the blue did beat the orange 38-32. The reason why I want to shine a light on this is because, as you guys may know, the Gators do house one of the best young quarterbacks in all of college football right now. In fact, one of the two top, I think Lenore Sellers is the other one, the freshman, now sophomore quarterback for South Carolina, who performed extremely well last year, especially late in the season. And, of course, DJ Lagway, who was performing just wonderfully. I can't say the amount of good things that I feel towards DJ. And also, let's not forget, guys, the Gators were beating the Georgia Bulldogs before DJ got injured. He got injured at that Georgia game, and the following game after that was against Texas. So Florida's postseason could have actually been a postseason, okay, had that injury not taken place. Of course, we don't know 100% what would have happened, but we do know that our best play caller and our best football player was hurt, and that he did have a lead in that game against Georgia, which, at least changes one L to a W, or, has the potential to do that. With that being said, Jacoby Jackson, the fifth-year senior at Florida running back, he goes 10 carries, 198 yards, and 3 touchdowns, including a 90-yard touchdown. It was just absolutely phenomenal to see this kid to pop off. We always knew that he had it. He's dealt with some injuries, throughout his career. But aside from that, he's been a stable back. He's, like I said, fifth-year senior. He's going to see a lot of playing time this year, and I think he's going to be more phenomenal for it. I actually think that our run offense this year could potentially be better than it was last year. And that obviously does have something to do with DJ, but mostly with the fact that we have a very stacked running back group right now at the University of Florida. Speaking of stacked groups, our wide receiver group is looking pretty freaking good too. Mr. Dallas Wilson, the 5-star recruit flip from Oregon, goes off 10 catches, 195 yards, including 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. Both of his touchdowns, 20-yard touchdowns, but this kid was absolutely phenomenal. Catching the ball, running routes, run after catch. He's every bit the 5-star recruit you expect him to be, and I truly expect this guy to be a complete and utter weapon of mass destruction moving forward for the University of Florida. And with both him and DJ being so young, this has the ability to turn into one of the premier wide receiver, quarterback wide receiver hookups that we have in all of college football. And I really look forward to seeing this. We've had some tremendous players come to the University of Florida, wear the number 6 with the name Dallas and with the name Wilson. So, just add another chapter to that, guys. And hopefully this kid can be everything we expect him to be and more. And I look forward to seeing this connection unravel throughout the season once college football starts. As you guys know, I love college football, and you guys are about to learn more about that when we get into this draft recap that we're going to go over. But I just want to throw that out there, guys, before we get into the second and final break of the evening. When we get back, we will talk all things draft, all things Tampa Bay, and then, of course, we will dibble-dabble in the Jacksonville Jaguars draft and the Miami Dolphins draft as well, and talk about what went right and what went wrong for all 3 of these teams. I'll give out some draft grades, and I will talk about my favorite picks for each of these teams and what I see them being able to do with those teams. But with that being said, keep it locked here again at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Oh, man. On this dedicated to my late great grandmother's life, we have reached the part that I'm most excited to talk about, which is my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their draft, their recap, and as well as the Jaguars and the Fins draft and recap. Guys, I watch a ton of college football. It's with my dad who's in the chat. It's always been a kind of a ritual for us. College football game day, Saturday morning cartoons into college football game day into college football, and basically just college football all day long. I can't really explain it to you. There's something magical about the energy. Just so many people get together to love and to cherish and to put something bigger than this, just them in their lives, in the forefront of the masses of the United States. And we all have our love. For the next person, it might be, Texas or Minnesota or USC, Penn State. You even have those weirdos that like Ohio State University, But no matter what college it is that you like, it's about putting something that's bigger than you in front of you, and not just cheering, but believing and sending your energy, sending those good vibes, the strength, the positive words, the affirmation, and all of those things to your team, ever empowering them to be more successful. There's something about that makes me reach out for it. And as a result, the draft is a very, very special time for me. Always a special time. Having my love for the University of Florida just lends credence to it, because we did have some Gators get drafted, and we'll talk about definitely one of them for sure. Actually, two of them we'll talk about. But I say that to say, what an exciting draft it was this year. Maybe not the most illustrious as far as star power goes, because there really was a massive drop from the 1s to the 2s to the 3s. But I will say that there was a tremendous amount of consistent talent, of consistent 3 to 4 star type level, skill level type players that were there with tremendous upside and not a whole lot of downside. And that's what I really liked about this draft, is that you really couldn't go wrong with who you picked. The question is, who do you need and who fits your scheme, offensively, defensively, or special teams? So the Florida Gators, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers start their draft with a wide receiver. And before I even get into that, okay, I was very concerned. Okay, I will tell you that as a Bucs fan, okay, from the outside looking in, you guys see Tampa Bay and you see the athleticism, you might see that hungriness in the young players, you see, whatever it is that you see. Let me tell you what it's like being in Tampa, what it's like being around other people who share opinions, okay, about our team. Baker Mayfield we love him. Okay, I'm just going to say it like that. Like, Baker is a Buck. He was born to play for Tampa Bay, okay? And we know this now, and we love him. And he is our captain, and listen, we're crazy for him. We are crazy for him, okay? Now, with that in mind, I look at this team and I say, guys, what's the strongest position that we have on this team? And I think without the shadow of a doubt, if you watched last season, if you've watched the last 10, 11 seasons, the answer to that question is wide receiver, right? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan in the 3rd round last year, phenomenal rookie campaign last year in 2024. I don't see that being the issue. Now, the Buccaneers secondary ranked 29th and 30th in the league among passing yards and I believe it was passing touchdowns allowed, okay? That's terrible. That is absolutely unacceptable in the NFL. And with that in mind, I look at this team and you ask me, what's the biggest concern? Well, listen, yes, edge is a concern, but we're saying that as if we don't have Vita Vea and Kalijah Kancey and Yaya Diaby, like Levante David, like we don't have some pieces. What was a mess last year was our defensive backfield. okay, without the shadow of a doubt, our best defender on the secondary side of the defense was Zion McCollum, who was an absolute pleasant surprise. This kid has blossomed to exactly who we thought he would be a few years back when we talked about him. He's become absolutely phenomenal. He's become a lockdown cover corner and a guy that knows how to read defenses. He's settled and he has learned and he has done the homework. The same thing that made him great in college is what's making him great now. And it was what we talked about when we drafted him. He's doing exactly what we said he needed to do, right? And he's taking some notes from Rondé Barber. He's a studier and he's very, very good at his craft. With that being said, Tyke Smith was a rookie last year, did deal with a concussion issue. And when he was out, it really felt like the Bucs were very one-dimensional, as we were able to stop the run but couldn't stop the pass. Jamel Dean was extremely questionable. He's got terrible knees. He's always hurt. And, also his off-the-ball coverage has been pretty bad over the last year and a half, 2 years. And so as a result, I have some questions about Jamel Dean. I don't think that he's a bad defensive back, but he needs to apply himself and stay healthy. However, if he cannot do that, understand this was the weakest point for the defense. When you couple that with a very injury-riddled safety position as well, Antoine Winfield Jr. missed multiple games this past season. Jordan Whitehead had an injury and then got into was in a car accident at the end of the season. We did not pick up the second-year option on him. He still could get re-signed, but he just simply hasn't been the same person he was when he was here in Tampa Bay originally. Christian Izien was good. He stepped in, played a lot of football, just another young guy, but again, young guy. And because of that, I think we're looking and we're saying, hey, are you ready to stand next to Antoine Winfield Jr. and provide that level of consistency that he does, especially when he's out? And the answer to that question was an overwhelming no. And if you guys watched Tampa Bay football last year, you guys saw that. There were times where teams like the Atlanta Falcons were just running up a score and doing things that they had no business doing against a Tampa Bay team that still somehow magically won the division in the final game of the season last year. So when you take all of those things into consideration, I think we needed to draft cornerback and edge. Linebacker would have been the first three positions that I was going to be interested in. And unfortunately, the Atlanta Falcons did what they do. Excuse my French for 1 second, but fuck the Atlanta Falcons, okay? I cannot stand that franchise. The only other franchise I hate more than that is probably the Saints and, like, the Cowboys probably. But I'm saying all that to say that the Eagles took what would have been the proper first-round pick. So my theory was go get an outstanding linebacker, somebody to put next to Levante David, and have a partnership. Now, we did sign Walker from the Dolphins, but there's no guarantee that will pan out. I think the kid can be a great football player, and I know him and Levante David have a history. But I think that you also want to get somebody young just in case you can't retain him or if Levante decides to retire at any point in time. Jalen Walker from Georgia was going to be that guy. And there is a strong belief that he would have been the pick if he was still there. The Falcons picking him up completely destroyed the Buccaneers' opportunity at getting him, and they also picked up a tremendous talent at linebacker. This is a kid that I got to watch play 4 separate times last year, including once against my Florida Gators, and he was an absolute monster in every single one of those games. As a result, I did develop a strong respect for him, but it makes sense that the Atlanta Falcons would draft him, but still F that franchise because they're always doing like that. And it's aggravating as a Buccaneer. It's aggravating. It's cool. We're going to win the division again, and they're going to be forced to watch us, okay? And but with that being said, since he was not available, my humble approach after that was he was the only linebacker I was interested in the first round. Not edge, linebacker, okay? But with edge, it is so deep this year. This year's draft was so deep at edge. And I mean, that might have been the area that had the most value throughout the entire draft. I mean, there were guys in the 4th and 5th round that were guys that in any other draft would have gone in the 2nd or 3rd. And so as a result, I look at that and I say, I'm not too concerned about drafting edge too early, but cornerback is something I am concerned about simply because, this is what I want to alert you to. All of the great quarterbacks in the NFL know how to deal with pressure, period. It's important to have pressure. That doesn't change. But if you're an elite quarterback, odds are there's about an 85 to 90% chance that you are tremendous with dealing with pressure. Okay. And what that means is you need to have good cornerbacks. You need to have guys that when your edge rushers cannot get to the quarterback, you have guys on the back end that you trust to know, hey, they're not going to let this quarterback complete this pass. And as a result, I felt cornerback was more important. I wanted the Buccaneers to go after Will Johnson. Will Johnson is absolute stud at cornerback. Obviously, Travis Hunter was not going to be available. He did go to the Jaguars. We'll talk about that in a second. But I wanted Will Johnson. Will Johnson was a stud at Michigan. Guy's a national champion. He had just an ungodly amount of interceptions in a single season for that Michigan team during that championship run, and he was a lockdown, a shutdown corner for that year. Just I was enamored with him watching him play, and a huge fan of his. But not getting Will Johnson really hurt my feelings. I will admit I did ramble a lot just to say that. But we did get Emeka Egbuka, and that's the wide receiver from Ohio State. So what I will give credit to is when you look at this kid's tape, he reminds you of kind of a Chris Godwin, right? Like he actually kind of reminds me of Chris Godwin. He's got the hands, he's got the speed, he's got the frame, he's got the run after the catch, he's got the route running, he's got the strength to be able to also not just make the catch and break tackles, but this man in run support is absolutely correct. I don't think we were paying attention to that until we really start to sit down and look at his tape. And after doing so, this guy is the all-time leading receiver at the Ohio State University. This guy was an absolutely just monster for them during this national championship that they won. And I have to admit, I'm very interested to see how he fits in on this team. Now having 4 tremendous wide receivers on this team right now to speak of, with so many more, that have a greater level of potential, and one of which that we're going to talk about in a second. I have to admit, after that first round, I was a little shaken and disappointed, thought it was a bad pick. But now that the Buccaneers have rounded out the draft, I will go into detail about why I think that actually ended up being a decent pick. And that's something that Jason Light is known for doing, is taking the best available player. And when you look at what this kid meant to the Ohio State University, which has become wide receiver U over the last decade or so, it's very imperative to accept that this was actually a very good pick in the first round. And I stand corrected in believing that this was a bad one. The reason why this is a good pick is because we've already talked about one of the guys that I was eyeballing, 2 of the guys that I was eyeballing, and 2 of the guys that I really felt like the Buccaneers need to go out and get these guys specifically, right? Will Johnson and Jalen Walker, right? So a few other guys that were on my radar were 2 cornerbacks. There was actually 4 cornerbacks that I was eyeballing. There was the kid from Texas, Will Johnson, as I mentioned already, and then of course Benjamin Morrison, who we took with our second round pick out of Notre Dame, and Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. These 2 picks I love tremendously. Both of these guys are starter level caliber cornerbacks. Both of these guys will come in and immediately push Dean and even Ty Key around a little bit. I think Zion McCollum is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's actually a lock. If he plays just like he did last year, I wouldn't move him out of that cornerback 1 position. Tyke Smith was absolutely phenomenal as a rookie last year, but he did deal with some injuries, including concussion, that had him out for 2 weeks. And so when you look at that, I really just want to make sure that he returns to the player that he once was. I think a lot of players, sometimes they lose a piece of themselves whenever they get injured for the first time in the pros, and I'm hoping that's not the case with him. When I look at Benjamin Morrison, this guy is a very high level, high IQ, high motor defensive back. This guy is not going to crack you. He's not going to knock you out. But you know what he's going to do? He's going to read your route for you, and he's probably going to beat you to the ball. This kid reminds me a lot of Brian Kelly. If you guys remember Brian Kelly back in the day, this was a slightly taller receiver or defensive back that just had great instincts, great ball instincts, great route running and capabilities of keeping up with the wide receiver running the route and never being out of position. And this is what I see when I look at Benjamin Morrison. I see a kid that's never out of position, that has such a high IQ that, you might be a great route runner, but he knows what you're trying to do before you even accomplish it. So knowing that we have that in our back pocket with the Benjamin Morrison, this is a guy that can come in and he could easily earn a starting position. Jacob Parrish is similar. Jacob Parrish is slightly harder hitting than Benjamin Morrison, but also has some great intellect as far as single coverage. Both of these guys are capable of being lockdown corners, which is very important because we do play a lot of zone defense, but that's really only on first and second down. On third down, depending on who we're playing against, there may be situations where a corner is going to be on an island, and I like to know that my cornerback is going to be okay on that island. Well, I think both of these guys, Jacob Parrish and Benjamin Morrison, they did that tremendously well in college at, 2 relatively good colleges. Let's not forget, Kansas State made some noise last year. It was actually a really good team. Notre Dame did find themselves in the national championship game, losing to our first round draft pick of Emeka Egbuka in the Ohio State Buckeyes. but still, I'm going to bear with it, okay? You go fourth round, you go David Walker, outside linebacker, Central Arkansas, and then, of course, Elijah Roberts, also outside linebacker / defensive line, SMU. Both of these guys are very, very big frame, very big motor, very Yaya Diaby-like type players. Both of these players remind me of Yaya. Elijah has slightly more explosion, and then you have David Walker, who has a little bit more speed. I do like his speed. I like his hand works. I like how he gets his hands up while he's rushing the passer, closing down passing lanes and forcing the quarterback to have to ad-lib. It's something that you want to see from your edge rushers, and that's something that we have with both of these guys. Our round 7 pick is going to be Tez Johnson, wide receiver, Oregon. So for those of you who do not know, Tez Johnson is actually the lightest player in the NFL draft, and he comes in at 154 pounds. There's no doubt that he's going to go ahead and put on some weight during this offseason. He's got plenty of time to do it, but he definitely needs to do that. With that being said, this kid is a blazer. He's absolutely fast. And I mean, you have an angle, but you don't have the angle. Like, you have a angle on him, but you don't have the angle on him. And I love that for him. His speed is otherworldly, very impressive. I think it was 4.3 he ran or something like that. But also, he happens to be the best friend of one Bucky Irving. So last year when the Buccaneers drafted Bucky Irving, I told you guys this was the steal of the draft. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to the episode. But I told you guys that he was just a steal in the 4th round. A year later, wouldn't you guys agree with me? I'd agree with me. With that being said, Tez Johnson absolutely has application here. That speed is going to be a very welcome form that we didn't have last year, and something that I look forward to seeing how we implement, especially knowing that we have a lot of packages that can utilize short yardage in areas that don't get utilized amongst the other 31 teams. What does that mean, Corey? I think that this guy has the ability to help stretch the field and create situations where we can get Mike Evans one-on-one. We can get Chris Godwin one-on-one. We can get Emeka Egbuka and, of course, Jalen McMillan one-on-one. And when you have a guy that stretches the field like that and creates so much space, but also works well in the run game, man, there's a lot of versatility in this wide receiver group. And with the addition of Tez Johnson, the Buccaneers now have acquired a piece of everything that there is at the wide receiver position, and this was the last thing we were missing. I just want to make a quick mention on a couple of undrafted free agents. These are some of the ones that really stand out to me, and these are some phenomenal signings undrafted for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and just goes to show how great Jason Light is. So, Jason, if you ever hear this show, my friend, I just want to give you your flowers. You are the best GM in the league. I've been saying that for the last couple of years, and I still think that rings true. Without further ado, here are some undrafted free agents the Buccaneers were able to pick up this year, and it starts with Shiloh Sanders. Absolutely stunning pickup there out of Colorado. Yes, that is Deion Sanders' son that plays safety. This kid is a hard-hitting, and I mean hard-hitting, safety. Okay, the kid's ball skills are just like his dad's. He doesn't have his dad's speed, but he has the other amenities, if you will. And when I use amenities, I'm using that from the term that his dad did not play safety. So it is very interesting to see defensive back skills being utilized at safety. And again, hard hitting, forces a lot of fumbles. Forced 5, I think it was last year, 5 forced fumbles in a single season is absolutely outrageous for college. And Shiloh does that. So I really think this is a guy that's going to come in and he's going to compete for a starting safety position. And I really think that it would be absolutely magical to have a Sanders wearing 21 that played for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for him to turn out to be a really good safety would just be the icing on the cake. I have all the faith in the world in this kid. Oh, excuse me. My apologies against the Tiramana. But I have all the faith in the world in this kid. I can't wait to see how he unravels and what he becomes moving forward. But I absolutely think he makes the team. I think he gets signed, and I think he also becomes a starter in the near future. You heard it here first, folks, on Palm Tree Sports Radio. Shiloh Sanders is for real, and he's going to be a good safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Safety J.J. Roberts out of Marshall, solid pickup there. This is a guy that's actually really, really good in zone coverage. Got to watch Marshall play some football over the last couple of years, and as a result, I have to admit that I am smitten with this pick. I think that this kid, as long as he can stay healthy and continue to play the way he played at Marshall, can be a severely underlooked and underutilized guy, and I think that the Buccaneers may have gotten them a good one here. Like I said, this guy is outstanding in zone coverage and really does well at doing his job, and I'm a big fan of doing your job. So, J.J. Roberts, welcome. Defensive tackle Florida, Desmond Watson. This pick doesn't get the credit it deserves unless you're in the state of Florida. So the University of Florida boasts 164, wait for it, 464-pound Desmond Watson, defensive tackle, just used to clog the hole. One of the things that was really, really hard to do was run at Florida last year. Over the last 2 years, in fact. And the reason why is because big old Desmond Watson is sitting right over your center. He's saying, look, guy, your A gap, your left A and your right A, they're closed. They're not open for business at all, okay? You ain't cashing no checks. The bank is closed. Forget about it. And there were multiple times where some players would try to go through that A gap, seeing Des there, and they paid for it. So the reason why I'm bringing this up to you guys is because there is this one guy that the Buccaneers have on their defensive line. This one guy, and his name's Vita Vea, and he's also really big. And I'm saying that to say that the Buccaneers making this choice is, it just kind of makes you think they don't like Philadelphia. As a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, we do not like Philadelphia at all. There is no love here. I love some people who love Philadelphia, but I myself do not like the Philadelphia Eagles. And that tush push probably should have been banned. To call that a football play is like, I don't know. Just imagine if like you were playing basketball and the way that everybody boxed out was to just keep one person in space to be able to score. You wouldn't call that basketball. You'd call that something else. You'd call that like, I don't know. Let's come up with a title for it. But the point being this, the Buccaneers said, okay, well, if you're not going to do your part, we'll do our part. And as the only team in NFL history who has ever successfully stopped the tush push twice, we know what it takes. Big guys. And you got to get low. You got to get real low, like Flow Rider low, okay? And see what I did there? Florida, Bucks, Tampa, Flow Rider. Cool. I'm lame. I'm sorry. But you got to do that, right? So you got to be big. You got to get low. So Des Watson does bring that to the table. The last two names that I do want to mention for the undrafted free agents for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be wide receiver Will Shepherd from Colorado. This guy also played alongside Shiloh Sanders, and this is a guy who was mentored by Mike Evans. So that is something very, very interesting there. And it kind of shows, how the Buccaneers keep that family aspect together, because this is the perfect kid to bring on to a Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, knowing that his mentor was Mike Evans. So with that being said, great pickup there at wide receiver, giving us, I think we got 4 total wide receivers this draft, which is pretty good. And then also with that, we also were able to pick up 3 cornerbacks and 2 safeties. So very lucrative draft for the Buccaneers on both sides of the ball, but definitely taking more so care of that defensive side, because that is the problem right there. The last person I want to make a mention to is Jake Majors. Jake Majors was the center for Texas. This guy started 4 years in a row for the University of Texas without wavering. Absolutely phenomenal job he has done out there with Quinn Ewers. Out there in Texas, with the Longhorns. So I love this pick. I think we have our backup center. And I love that. I just love that pick. And the fact that he didn't get drafted is absolutely insane. Congratulations, Buccaneers, on an absolutely solid draft class this year. I'm going to give this draft class an A. The only reason why I don't give it an A+ is because obviously in the first round, I felt like we could have taken somebody who was just more efficient and effective at a higher caliber for talent. You have to remember, a lot of these guys that get drafted in the first round, almost all of these guys are guys that we're going to see on Sundays. And knowing that that's the case, and knowing that we're not going to see Emeka Egbuka as much as we might see somebody that was going to be on the defensive side of the ball, just take that in consideration when you look at the grade that I do give them. But I will give them a solid A. And the only way it could have been better is if we started out with Will Johnson, in my opinion, or obviously Jalen Walker. With that being said, congratulations, Bucks. Great job in the draft. I'm so excited for this year, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen moving forward, guys. Let's go ahead and, because I know it's getting late, so I'm not gonna keep you guys here for too long. But let's go ahead and jump into what the Jaguars did for their draft. And obviously, I want to highlight this a little bit simply because obviously we're talking about Florida sports, but also the first round draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars was none other than Travis Hunter. Okay. This is the main thing I want to address, okay? Travis Hunter is incredible. He is sensational. This is one of the premier picks in all of college football. And when we look back at it, this is one of the most electrifying college picks in all of college football history. What this kid brings to the table cannot be understated, and we will not sell him short. I watched Colorado play 6 games last year. Travis Hunter is him, okay? He was him in college, but has the skill set to still be him. We have seen players who we questioned with their size, with their durability, with their weight and their strength, the expectation that the NFL does have, and we have seen them deliver time and time again. You look at Smith, Devontae Smith with the Eagles, small kid, slim kid. Hey, he gets the job done, right? This guy, Travis Hunter, a little smaller for the average, wide receiver / defensive back. The ball skills, the tenacity, the route running, and the defending of the route running. This kid is absolutely phenomenal. And this pick is a A+ grade in my book for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just have one problem. Jacksonville doesn't do anything with great players that they draft. Tell me I'm wrong. You remember Fred Taylor? Great player. Did not build around him, okay, at all. And that's kind of the problem that I have with this franchise. I really hope that this pick starts to push them into a zone where they realize that you can't just have great players in isolated areas. You have to have good or great players in all areas to find success and to find the playoffs. That is a fact. There's no way around it. It is what it is. I love this pick for Jacksonville. I just hope that they do right by him and actually develop this team. Excuse me. In the 3rd round, they go Caleb Renshaw, cornerback, Tulane. Solid cornerback choice. This kid played against Florida in the ball game. That was down here. Our Gators were able to win that game, of course, but this kid was actually really, really good. I did have my eyebrows perked up for him throughout the season. He is a good cornerback. I do like this pick for them. I think that he will be a starter for Jacksonville, and I'm glad that they are starting young. And then with pick number 88, Wyatt Millam, offensive guard, West Virginia, was the pick right after that one. So Caleb was picked. I apologize. Caleb was pick 88, and then Wyatt was pick 89. So back-to-back picks there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 great picks right there. I think that the Caleb pick is better than the Wyatt pick, but I do know that they do need help there and that offensive line. That's something that we talked about when addressing the Jaguars the last time we spoke. So great pick there. In the 4th round, Bayshul Tutin, the running back out of Virginia Tech, was going to be the 4th round take there at number 104. And then Jack Kaiser, linebacker, Notre Dame at 107. I love the Jack Kaiser pick. This is a phenomenal pick for them. Kaiser, underrated linebacker there at Notre Dame, a guy that can really get the job done. And on defense, I think he will see starting time as well. This team is really in need of a lot in Jacksonville. So I think this is a guy that's going to come in and provide some stability there at linebacker. And he may not start right away, but he will build into a solid starting caliber linebacker over time. I think he needs a year to acclimate, but aside from that, he's going to be a great pick for them. Jalen McLeod, linebacker, Auburn, also another great pick. Love this pick there. In Auburn, they have good linebacker play, and this is not the first, and it won't be the last at pick 194. And then at pick 200, Rayun Lane III, safety out of Navy. Navy had an extremely good defense this past year, and they played tremendous football. This is an underrated pick, and this is another one of those guys that could find himself as a starter on this Jacksonville defense. I love this pick at pick 200, and I really hope to see him start as well. In round 7, Jonah Morheim, the center out of USC. This guy is another center that definitely went pretty late. The fact that he was almost undrafted as well just goes to show that there are a lot of teams that don't need centers, but there were a ton of good centers that went undrafted and or picked super late, and I think that this was one of them. LaQuint Allen, running back out of Syracuse. This guy's pretty good. He's solid. He'll make the team. He'll more than likely make the team. Watch the Syracuse Orangemen play some football. throughout the season. They had a pretty good team this past year. They've actually had a pretty good team over the last couple of years. They just need to put it together and need to finish. So with that being said, I like this pick as well. I give Jacksonville a B+ for this, and the real reason why I give them a B+ is because they actually had a ton of picks, and some of their picks I did feel was a little questionable. Wyatt's a great guard, but he played at a school that didn't perform very, very well. So I wonder if that's a coaching issue. And in my opinion, it probably was a coaching issue. Not saying he's a bad talent, but saying that what we saw from him wasn't quite what we saw from players such as Jack Kaiser and, of course, Caleb, So with that being said, I do give this team a B+ for their draft. They would have been an A basically if they had just swapped one of these picks for somebody that I really felt like would have performed much better, or that could come in and start immediately at that point. So that's my viewpoint there for Jacksonville. They did what they had to do, and this is about what you'd expect from them. So good job, Jags. B+, B++, actually, to be honest with you, like I said, just a hair away from an A. Now then, let's go ahead and talk about the Fins, and let's talk about what they were able to do in the draft. And for Jacksonville's franchise is a lot shorter. Their inaugural year was 98, I think it was their inaugural year and whatnot. So there's not a lot of history to draw upon. Right? There's 27 years to draw upon of history for them. And as a result, it's really hard to determine if this team is ever going to truly draft consistently good in order to become a team like a Pittsburgh Steelers or a San Francisco 49ers or a New England Patriots dynasty. These are all teams that have drafted tremendously well, and they've built dynasties and they've built histories off of doing that. And this is something that Jacksonville needs to get a little bit better at. A team that did, well, all right in the draft, but I don't think did better than the Buccaneers or the Jaguars would be the Fins. However, this is not to say they had a very solid draft. The problem is they actually did something which goes against the grain of what they normally do. They picked these guys on consistency basis, right? So my problem with Miami over the last about 3 years, really since Tua Tagovailoa has been there, is that this team is very glass cannon, okay? And you ask to say, Corey, what does glass cannon mean? They are very, if this breaks, everything breaks. If Tua doesn't work, nothing works. That is not a great way to play football, okay? So as a result, I look at this team and I say they need to go get some consistent players, and that's what they did. This is not a ton of star power in this draft class as it is with the Bucs and the Jaguars. But what it is are a bunch of players that are going to come in. They're going to be effective. Half of these guys are going to start immediately, and they are going to push the rest of this team to be better. And that's what I do like about this Fins team and what they were able to draft. So when they go Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, this was a great pickup. Kenneth Grant was absolutely instrumental for this team during the national championship run they had 2 years ago. And I love this pick for them. We talked about it. I gave you guys all the information the last couple of shows before the draft, what the Bucs and the Jaguars and the Fins need. We talked about the Jags and the Fins needing very similar help, both on the defense and offensive line. We knew that both of these teams are going to have to show up their defensive backfields as well, and that all three of these teams are going to have to go heavy at defense in specific areas, but not all areas were going to be the same. For the Fins, it was going to be trenches. They need to protect Tua. They need to be able to get after the quarterback, and then after that, they have to have guys that can supplement the areas that they can't control and dominate in the trenches. And that's exactly what they did with this pick. I love this pick. Kenneth Grant, great first round pick. I give that pick for the first round a B++. And you go into the second round, they go pick 37. They go Jonah. I can't say his name properly, but it's the offensive guard out of Arizona. This guy was one of the best guards in the draft. They got him in the second round. This is an A pick, in my opinion. I love this pick because they need to protect Tua, and Arizona is actually very, very good at producing offensive tackles and offensive linemen. So I do love this pick. In round 5, they skip obviously 3 and 4, but they have 3 picks in round 5, in which 143 is going to be Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, Maryland. This is a great pick. He's big guy, big motor, big hands. He knows how to move offensive linemen very, very well. He's got great hips, and I am very impressed with this pick as well. I like this pick a lot. I give that pick a B. And then they go Jason Marshall Jr., cornerback out of Florida. Jason Marshall Jr., he's good. But as a Gator fan, I have to say he does have a ceiling, and his ceiling is touchable. And I don't like that for him. He's going to have to reinvent himself to eliminate that ceiling. And if he can do it in Miami, he'll find success. However, I don't know if that's going to be the place to do it, because when you're playing against a guy like Josh Allen twice a year, you're either going to sink or swim. And Jason Marshall Jr., you're going to have your opportunity to be as great as we thought you would be at Florida here in Miami. Not to say that he wasn't great. He was great, but his potential was so much more than what we saw. And as a result, I really hope he reaches that with Miami. Obviously, we had a huge rotation at cornerback there at the University of Florida as well. So that it's important for me to say that. But for what it's worth, this is a guy that I think that could be totally, reinvented and so much better. But he's got to do it, right? It's going to be on him to do it. Good pick. I give it a B pick. And then, of course, at round 5, pick number 155. They go Dante Trader Jr., safety from Maryland. This is a very underrated pick. This is a very solid safety. This guy didn't get burned too many times. I love this guy in both man and in safety help over the top and zone coverage. I like him in the zone 3 more than the zone 2, but he doesn't get lost in space. Tremendous pick out of Maryland. Love this pick, guys. I give that pick an A because of round 5. That deep in round 5, still having him available is pretty interesting, but I guess a lot of teams are actually sitting pretty good at safety right now, so I guess there's that. In round 6, pick 179, they go Ollie Gordon, running back, Oklahoma State. Solid pickup, solid backup. Yeah. You got Devon Arshon. That guy's really good. This guy's not going to take that position. Round 7, pick 231, Quinn Ewers, Texas. I don't like this pick. I don't like Quinn Ewers. I don't think he's a solid quarterback at all. I think he's very questionable. I think him and Jackson Dart were two of the and that other kid from Louisville. I thought they were all extremely questionable at quarterback. I don't think that any of these guys are going to pan out. All 3 of these guys are going to be backups. They're going to probably be career backups, in fact. Quinn Ewers is just a product of a great thing that they have program going on in Texas right now. And he kind of just walked in, and again, he just benefited. Great offensive line, great receivers. You remember Xavier Worthy was on that team a couple of years back, 2 years ago. Arch Manning is about to show those boys how good this team really is. And if you guys don't believe me, watch Texas football this year. By the way, I'm impartial. I do like Texas, and they are part of the SEC. So, but yeah, I think Quinn Ewers is not going to be consistent. I think he'll be a backup quarterback. I don't think he amasses 10,000 yards passing. I could be wrong, but I'm doubtful for that. The guy's very inconsistent, and I think he struggles when the spotlight and the moment is in his hands. Not a huge fan of that pick. Zeke Biggers is going to be the final pick in the 7th round for the Dolphins. He's a defensive tackle out of Georgia Tech. A big guy, he clog up space, helping run stopping downs. That's pretty much what he's going to do. That's what he's going to bring to the table, Yes. Tyler Shuck, that guy, he is so inconsistent. Oh my God. Those 3 guys. Hey, look. If your starting quarterback just throws 3 interceptions, let him throw 4. Do not bring these kids in. All right. Cam Ward is solid. Okay. Shador Sanders, better than those 3 guys. Okay. Listen, I watched Jackson Dart play football. I saw Tyler play football twice last year. I saw Quinn Ewers play football 4 times last year. And when I say watch, I mean like either for like a half or the entire game. It's either at least 30 minutes or an hour, or the entire game that I got to see them. If we're just talking like I flipped through the channel, I'm not going to count that. But those 3 guys, no, none of them were better than Shador Sanders. The fact that Shador went down the way that he did just shows that, that people have problems with separating the game from the antics. Listen, when Terrell Owens played football, I get it. He was a handful. He's number 3 all time. You can not like him. The production speaks for itself. The numbers speak for itself. That's all I'm gonna say. So, but hey guys, that's what I have for you today, guys. I'm always speaking from a fan's perspective, right? I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I love my team. I love what I see, but I got to keep it real with you guys, right? So, final draft grade for the Fins is also going to be a B, but not a B++ like it was for the Jaguars, and not an A like it was for the Buccaneers. This team did very good with the consistency in the top half of the draft. The second half was a little bit questionable in comparison, but all three of these teams have a lot to build upon. Hey, listen, guys, I appreciate you guys joining this evening on this Sunday evening for the show. We talked about so much. We got to go over the Florida Gators National Championship. We talked about the playoffs for both the NBA and for the NHL. We talked about the MLB, and of course, we talked about the draft this past year. All three teams doing very, very well and based on what they need. I look forward to seeing you guys same time, same place next week. I will be right here in this chair for you guys, and I look forward to getting further into detail about what these teams have to offer moving into the start of off-season as far as OTA, practices, and all that is concerned. So get ready for that and so much more moving forward, guys. But again, my name has been Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you by Sports Radio. You're the right feed for all that is sports. You guys, hold on to your loved ones. Enjoy your free time. Set yourself free and do what you want to do in this life. But please, guys, take chances. Make the most of those opportunities and continue to move forward, even if you got to put your head down to keep your feet moving. Keep moving forward. Progression is everything. I love you guys. I'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, this is Corey P signing off. Take care.